Hello, my name is Richard Diver and I'm joined by my colleague Rin Ure, author of the SOC Process Framework. This is video 2 of an 8-part series. And as you can see, here's the list of topics we're going to get to cover. In this video, we're going to look at the high-level topics, so really a good starting point for the whole process. We recommend that you follow along by opening this workbook in your own Azure Sentinel instance. So if you don't have that, pause the video, go do that now. All right, you're back. Let's go. So if you haven't used Azure Sentinel before, you can sign up for free by going to this first hyperlink here. You can get a free trial, you can enable Azure Sentinel and get going. If you haven't used Azure Sentinel before, you can sign up for a free access by going to the first URL, sign up for an Azure subscription and enable Azure Sentinel. All of our Microsoft trainings are available on this second URL at Microsoft Learn. So please go there and take a look through that content. And specifically for Azure Sentinel, if you want to get deep technical content in how to use this solution, please go and take a look at the Azure Sentinel Ninja training. So, Rin, tell us a bit more then about the high-level topics of the SOC Process Framework.
Thank you, Richard. Absolutely. And thank you for that introduction. I love it. All right, I'm going to be pulling up our workbook. Hopefully you've followed along with Richard, you've paused the video, you've logged into your Azure Sentinel instance, and you have pulled up the SOC Process Framework. If you didn't have that already saved and enabled within your Sentinel instance, we highly recommend that you do that and that you can follow along here with me. So today, with our high-level topics that we're going to cover, we're going to talk a little bit deeper around the SOC main. We're going to cover SOC contacts. We're going to talk a little bit about roles and responsibilities. We did cover that in a previous video, but we're going to go in a little bit more detail. We're going to talk also about tools and resources. We're going to also cover SOC training. So these are the high-level topics within this workbook that we're going to cover for this session. All right, let's get started. SOC main. So really, when we dive into the SOC main, you're going to see a couple of things. You're going to see welcome to the Customer Security Operations Center. You're going to see this is in a green banner at the top where you can customize this. You can change out the customer name right here, put in your own line of business, make this customizable, make this applicable to what it is that your SOC operations is doing. Okay, highly recommend that you follow the steps that we're calling out here to remove customer, change it. Use the Control F feature in the workbook, and we're going to show that here in a minute. And then you can step in and really update anything that within this page. I've also called out the SOC main mission statement. This mission statement is a mission statement that snaps to the way that we're thinking about it from a Microsoft perspective, pulled in with industry standards around what a typical SOC mission statement might look like. So for here, we're calling out alerts and cyber threats, compliance exceptions, and looking to identify those, assisting in minimizing the impact of adverse events that might occur, looking at achieving any rapid situational awareness of current threats and compliance statutes, but also looking to automate manual reporting processes. All of these things we've carved out within bullet points under the mission statement. Feel free to edit, modify, or change any of these and make them applicable to your business. Down below, we've also called out process and procedures by category. We're looking at how each of those are broken down. So the SOC analytical processes and procedures to SOC training, which we'll cover here in this session. And then we have some additional categories. Our process hierarchy we covered in our last session. We're going to talk a little bit more about procedural flow, SOC and role responsibilities, and then contacts and what that might look like so that you can store contacts based on the ability to go and reach out to folks that may be both in the SOC, external teams, or other organizational contacts that you may need to follow up with during the type of incident response and procedures that you may follow within this workbook. So this is kind of main. This is that SOC main and what that looks like. In order to edit this in the SOC main or any of these, we would come to the edit button. This gives us the ability to open up and edit any one of these. And then we have an edit button next to any of these pieces. And then I'm going to move that out of the way there. We can then from there dive in and take a look at some of those pieces. But I want to do an advanced edit first and foremost. So our advanced edit button is going to fall under the advanced editor. So I may click on advanced editor. This is going to open up the advanced editor template. And then from here, I can then hit that Control F. And that Control F is going to give me my find. If I click this arrow, this gives me my find and replace. So where I may say, okay, I know that there is customer, right? And I'm going to replace this with, I don't know, let's come up with a fun name. Let's see here. Let's replace it with Contoso. Let's see, apps and widgets. Why not? So we'll do that. We can see here there's 69, right? And I can go ahead and apply all of those, right? Push that down and match each of those. So this gives me a chance to replace all of the customer throughout the entire workbook. And now I'm really updating everything in here to match those pieces for that. All right, so we've got that. Okay. So in the find, we're going to find customer with brackets, and then we're going to replace that with Contoso apps and widgets, and we're going to hit enter, and you'll see the number go down. So from one of, and now we're replacing customer with our Contoso apps and widgets until we have no results. Once we are satisfied that there are no results, we can go ahead and close that. And we can click apply. So this applies all of those changes. Welcome to the Contoso Apps and Widgets Security Operations Center. Okay, so now we have all of that throughout the entire workbook because we have replaced customer throughout all of the pages here, all of the tabs and pages and pieces with our new customer name that fits our line of business. So that's kind of the first thing that you can do on editing and making sure that you're kind of getting that warm feel of your line of business and applying that. That's the easiest way to do a search and replace within that page. All right, the next page that we kind of want to take a look at is SOC contacts. Now this page is a really simple page. It basically is a markdown page that allows you to come in and update any of the pieces within Markdown within the tables that we've built for you. So you can see these different tables. We have contacts for the SOC team itself, workstations that may fit within the SOC. A lot of SOCs have a bullpen, right, of workstations that other analysts may work or share with, and so there is a way for you to be able to classify and put those in there. If for any reason any of these items need to be modified, you can again click the edit button, and within here you'll see down below, right, you'll see that this, let's go click contacts, and the way that this works is the edit button, there's our contacts right there, gives us the ability to step into each of these. Now, I'll just kind of show you how this is called out. This is a markdown table where you would store any of your stuff in between each of these areas here for these pieces. In version 2 that we're currently working on and developing, this is actually going to be a call out to a watch list, a fly out to a watch list where you can actually just go in and store it in there, and then the workbook is going to load all of that data so that you're not having to do it through Markdown. So we do have some changes that are coming for version 2, which is going to make this a lot more ease of use, if you will. But for now, this is what that looks like, right? It's done through Markdown code. You come into this section of the workbook and make any modifications through that Markdown by adding in any of the information for that table. So for here, you would put a user, a location, internal line, a workstation name, IP, MAC, whatever, right? And you would just kind of fill this out per each of those different table sections until all of that is done. When you're done, you click Done Editing, right? And again, Done Editing, and then you could save, your workbook. So now I've saved that. All of the changes that I've made so far allows me to really kind of adopt those pieces as it is pertaining to my line of business. All right. The next page that we kind of want to focus on from that side of the house is roles and responsibilities. And again, this is simple Markdown. So we would just edit, we would open this page up and dive into each of the different sections for this. Now the Markdown for this is very similar to the previous Markdown, and I'll kind of show you what that looks like. We can click Edit. And we're in roles and responsibilities. So we have to scroll down just a little bit. There, you see it right there. And down below is our edit button right here. So we click edit below that. And then you can kind of see how this is. Now, if you need some additional, if you want Advanced Editor, we've built in Advanced Editor also into each of these sections. So you can see that here. You can also see Style here, Advanced Editor, right? Advanced Settings, how this is tied to conditional settings and visibility, and then the additional settings that are within the Markdown. You can see that this is just a style text of info, and each of that is here with dashes for bullet points. Really straightforward. Come in, make any modifications here. My recommendation is that if you have that in like Word doc or Notepad or some other type of editing tool, make your changes there, and then just come in here and copy and paste. Drop it in as Markdown. This gets you the ability to see how this is broken out. So this is the way that we give a title. So 3 hashes bolds that title, right? So that you can see that that's called out in bold, and then everything else is listed in dashes. So those are kind of the bullet points of the Markdown, and then indents with, again, those dashes. Really simple, very straightforward to come in, modify, make any of those changes around the roles, responsibilities. At the bottom, however, is the table that you can kind of see. And the way that table is called out for the RACI model around responsibilities, accountability, consulted, informed, and so on. And then how each of those are mapped to each of the different areas. So if you want to modify this as well, you can come in and update any of the titles that you've added descriptions to. Come in, make sure that you're modifying those here within the table, and then adding any additional RACI metrics that match back to the monitor, investigation, assess and contain, remediate and recover, postmortem, and where each of those pieces fit back to that person's role and their responsibilities. And then when you're finished, click Done Editing, and again, save, and that will be saved per the changes that you've made. All right. The next portion that we kind of want to focus on is tools and resources. Now, tools and resources is it's a table also, but this is a very specialized table. So I kind of want to talk about how we crafted this. Our recommendation really is all of these tools and URL links within the table that you see here have been vetted. They work. They all call out to tools on the web for you to be able to leverage. We've also put them under topics so that you can see if you need networking tools, Linux, security guides, if you need threat intelligence sources, so on and so forth. Every one of these are broken down into their topics with their subsequent URLs and a description of what they offer you as far as a technical resource is concerned. Our recommendation here is that you update this with any additional tools or resources or links that your customer or the line of business that you're using to adopt this uses in their day-to-day operations. So this is a great place to build out a repository of said tools and resources so that your SOC analysts aren't having to go look for those. They know immediately they can come to this section of the workbook. They know that those tools and resources are stored within this repository, and they can immediately click that link and have that link opened up for them. For case in point, let's say I wanted to understand how to do Wireshark and I needed that Wireshark user's guide. I can click that link and have that immediately opened to the Wireshark user's guide and the table of contents as it is built out by Wireshark. So you can see how easy it is that these are usable for any analyst to be able to come in and click on. So now let's kind of show you what it looks like to edit this from this side of the house. So again, we're going to click edit. We're going to have to scroll down just a little bit past our roles and responsibilities because our tools and resources are kind of near the end. Let's see here, there we are, there's our tools and resources. So we're going to click edit, and that's going to open up this. And then inside here, because this is a group, the way that we've grouped these, then we have grouping for each of these. So there's a group for this section and a group for that section. So we'll just start with this first grouping. So in here, again, it is a markdown table, but you'll notice a little bit of some formatting difference with this markdown table. We have an IPv4 subnetting for, because this is the name of that. And then we have a URL and then details for that. Right? So this is the name of that link, and then this is the link. So we use the name, we wrap them in square brackets, and our URL are wrapped in parentheses. And then after that is our details. So every one of these links are wrapped this way so that you can see how we're pulling out each of the different tools in their respective resources. This gives you a really good way to go, okay, I know exactly how they're doing it. Great, I can add any additional tools and resources to this markdown table and continue to expand out the resources that are called out within this section of the workbook. And then again, once you're done making any of those changes, click done editing on this side, and then save it up at the top so that you have that there. All right, our last section that we want to focus on is our SOC training section. Now, this brings me a lot of joy to really kind of show you what we've done. In the URL that Richard talked a little bit about earlier in this session is the Microsoft Learn. And our Microsoft Learn path gives anyone the ability to come to Microsoft Learn and pick out resources and tooling and learning modules that snap to the particular type of resource that they want to learn about. In this particular instance, we've carved out all of the Sentinel badges and learning opportunities from Microsoft Learn, and we've built them directly in to the SOC training portion of this workbook. We've also pulled out protecting against security threats on Azure. This is a 25-minute module. You can click this. You can see when I click the start here, it immediately loads this introduction. It immediately loads and pulls down the prerequisites. I can click then continue. It takes me into protecting against those security threats. I can see what it takes to understand the posture, all of the pieces as it pertains to this particular module, and then step into the next portion of that module set. So again, all of it's linked and tied together from this from the way that we're thinking about it on the Microsoft Learn side. On the Sentinel side, we've broken 6 hours and 19 minutes down into 7 modules, and all of these modules are here for you to be able to, call out, go learn, and you can see which badges you're going to earn. So from this, we've got Intro to Sentinel, how to deploy Sentinel, threats, incident management, threat hunting, threat response, doing queries, how to visualize those queries. That's important, especially when you want to create workbooks like this one, and bringing back the goodness that Sentinel has to offer from a learning path and learning modules perspective. And then we call out additional sections. We've got the part 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. These are those additional badges down below here, and how each of those tie into the overall picture within Sentinel itself and the overall Microsoft Learn as it pertains to the Sentinel services and modules, right, that we've worked together as a team to build this. Now, I helped build a lot of this, but it took a team to really unify and make this applicable. And I think you'll find that this is very comprehensive. This is a great place to start, along with the Ninja training that was called out earlier. Great materials, so that now your analysts aren't having to go look for all of that. It's embedded, it's built into the workbook, and really helps to shore up that knowledge right prior to them stepping into their role and delivering the type of SOC operational excellence that you want your analysts delivering on. So with that, I'm going to turn this kind of back over to Richard, but as a whole, this is kind of that high level, of each of these sections, with a little bit of detail on the modification of these sections, why these sections are important. We're kind of diving in a little bit more into these areas above and beyond what we covered in the first session, but this kind of helps you see these in a little bit deeper light and why these are important to this workbook. Richard, over to you.
Great, thank you, Rin. It's really good work. Nice to see all the customizations you can make, right? So you can personalize all the workbook and that. All right, so with that, come and join us in the next video where we're going to take a deep dive into the incident response process and framework.